3 to 6 player card game based on the crazy encounters of Dungeons & Dragons. Players take turns exploring the dungeon, kicking in doors and fighting monsters, trying to be the first player to reach level 10 and win the game. If this is your first time here, PlayToWin is the board game series in which I teach you not only how to play games, but how to kill monsters and your friends in order to secure victory. Hit that subscribe button as I post new PlayToWin videos every single week, and I'll help you kill that monster for no treasure. Uh-oh, somebody's making a play for 10. Back to Munchkin. Everyone pick a pawn and place it in room 1. If you are not playing a version of Munchkin with a board, collect your favorite tokens and give 10 to each player, putting 1 in front of you to indicate that you are level 1. Or download the Munchkin level counter app. Shuffle the door and treasure decks, dealing 4 of each card to each player, and then placing them in their designated locations. Now it's time for character creation. Everybody starts as a level 1 human. Boring. Play any race, class, usable items, or equipment by putting them in front of you. Now everybody roll a die. Whoever rolls the highest is the first player. A true classic. At the beginning of your turn, make sure your character is set up the way you like, playing any item cards now, as you cannot play them during combat unless the card specifies that you can. You may only equip 1 big item and 1 item per body part. That means 1 helmet, 1 pair of footwear, and either 2 one-handed weapons or 1 two-handed weapon. Once you're ready, kick in the door. Take a door card and play it face up. If it's a monster, you're now in combat and must defeat it. If it's a curse, it takes effect on you immediately. If it's any other card, pick it up and put it in your hand. If you didn't draw a monster card, you have 2 options. You can loot the room or look for trouble. In looking for trouble, play a monster card from your hand and fight that monster instead. If you don't have a monster card in your hand that you wish to fight, you may loot the room. Draw a face-down door card and place it into your hand. Finally, you can't end your turn with more than 5 cards in your hand. So at this time, play any cards you can, equip anything in your hand that you're not using, play level up cards, anything like that. If you still can't reach 5 cards, then you give your cards to the lowest level player. If there's a tie, distribute them evenly, but you get to pick who gets the best items. If you are the lowest level player or tied for lowest level, just discard your cards. When fighting a monster, compare its combat strength to yours. Combat strength is level plus any additional modifiers given by cards or equipment. Some monsters get additional modifiers based on who they are fighting. If your combat strength beats the monster, you win! Go up a level, or 2 depending on the size of the monster, for each monster that you fight, and collect the treasure located at the bottom right of the card. Sometimes a card, class, or race ability will let you get rid of a monster without killing it. In this situation, you do not go up a level, and make sure to read the card, because in this case, sometimes you also don't get to collect the treasure. If you are losing, play one-shot items. These are designated by the usable once only line on the card. These cards can give buffs or penalties to either side, depending on who you play them for and who you want to win. If you are still losing, it's time to swallow your pride and ask for help. You can ask any other or all players to help you in this combat. If they accept, add their combat strength to yours in fighting the monster. Often, they'll require some sort of payment, either cards from your hand or treasure from the monsters that you're fighting. That being said, this player is now a part of the combat, and if for some reason you guys lose the encounter, they also face all of the bad stuff you would face for losing. If, after all of this, you are still losing, it's time to run away. Roll the dice, you escape on a 5 or higher, unless you have an item that helps you out, or the monster makes running away more difficult. You must run away from each monster you're facing, so if you're facing multiple, you must declare which monster you're running away from before you roll the dice. If you escape, you get no levels and no treasure. You only get life. If you fail, the monster does bad stuff to you, indicated at the bottom of the card. This can be anything from losing an item to losing a level to complete death. If you die, you lose all of your stuff. You get to keep your race, class, level, and any curses on your person. Lay your hand out for everyone to see. Starting with the highest level player, they get to take a card from your hand. Once everybody has taken a card, discard the rest. On your next turn, draw 4 door cards and 4 treasure cards. This is now your hand. It's like you're starting over. To win the game, you must defeat a monster and advance to level 10. You can buy levels or play go up a level cards up until level 9, and you must defeat a monster into 10 in order to win the game. There can be only one victor. unless somebody's playing an elf, but then we hate them. PlayToWin is not like any other board game series. I can't just teach you how to play the game. My competitive spirit would be screaming. I must teach you how to min-max and get to level 10 the fastest. We'll start by going over some key cards before we go into the best strategies. The Wandering Monster card is the only way to play an additional monster during a combat. Technically, you can play this for yourself. I would only do that in the situation in which you are level 8, are fighting a super easy monster, and can then play a super easy monster that even when players interfere, they cannot do anything about. Therefore giving you 2 levels into 10 and you win. Save this card and a spicy creature to play on somebody else when they're getting close to or are about to win in order to screw them over and potentially kill them. You can get a couple more people involved as they're helping out in the combat. That is key. Super important note. Monsters with the undead tag can go into a combat to help each other without playing a Wandering Monster card. This means you may play a regular monster and an item to make that monster undead and enter them into the combat without a Wandering Monster card as well. The other strategy to this is to play a Wandering Monster to enter an undead into a combat, thus allowing all other players to enter their undead into that combat as well without Wandering Monster cards. The Cheat card! There's a card in Munchkin called Cheat. This allows you to equip an item that you normally could not use. This could be because you've run out of hands, it's specific to a class or race, or specifically not usable by your class or race. I suggest equipping a 2-handed item. Building your character with 4 arms will give you the biggest overall bonus, as well as be able to prevent curses from getting rid of your item and cheat card. As if you lose the item or sell the item attached to the cheat card, you also lose the cheat card. If you have 2 two-handed items and a curse makes you get rid of a 2-handed item, just get rid of the one on your person, not on the cheat card, and you can replace that one later. The Half-Breed and Super Munchkin cards let you equip an additional class and race. These cards are obviously super useful as you gain extra abilities you wouldn't have access to otherwise. Just don't use them to make yourself an elf. Munchkin, just like D&D, is really a game of politics. Don't make enemies and don't throw the first stone. And when somebody does throw the first stone, make them public enemy number 1. Wreck them for the rest of the game and make sure that everybody knows that this is the person that started the war. It takes the attention off of you and gives everybody someone to focus on so they use all their cards on them and not on you. If you do this well, people tend to use their cards early before somebody reaches level 9. The more cards you can get players to play before you reach level 9, the more likely it is that when you make an attempt for 10, you will be successful. Another way to play the politics is to fly under the radar. Do not be the first person to make an attempt on level 10. Unless you are at 9 and you are 6 levels above everybody else and can make this attempt multiple times, don't do it. Wait for somebody else to go to 9 and make an attempt so that people use their best cards against this person instead of against you. The more cards that are played, the wider the door opens for you to just sneak on in there and steal the victory. Well, everybody only has 1 or 2 cards and there's nothing that they can do. During the situation in which somebody else is making an attempt for 9, make sure to goat players into playing their cards so you can save yours in case you need them. Convince everybody that your hand is really useless and there's nothing that you can do. Do not play an elf. Whatever you do, don't play an elf. The ability of the elf is that if they assist on a combat that is successful, they also gain the levels. This sounds awesome. It sounds like a super sneaky way to rush up to 9 and then win the game. But it's not. Elves are always enemy number 1. Nobody will let you help them, which prevents you from making allies and prevents you from collecting treasure on other players' turns. You think you'll get levels early, or you'll be able to sneak in a shared victory, but really you'll just be sidelined, only used in super cases of emergency, collecting little to no treasure, and oftentimes if you are an elf and you offer your services, people will say, well, you're getting a level, so I won't give you any treasure. Which again, prevents you from getting more cards to make your character better. It really just isn't worth it. Instead, play a Halfling. Halflings are able to sell items at double their gold cost. This means that if you fall behind early or need to make a very quick play for 10, you are able to sell items to level up faster and cheaper than everybody else. On the same note, don't be afraid to save your level up cards to make a push for 10 at the right time. If you have room to keep them, keep the level up cards in your hand, and then after somebody makes a very big attempt for level 10, and many players are low on cards, you play a couple, you reach 9, you go in and you fight a monster and you win the game. Alternatively, if you flip the door open and you didn't pull a monster, it's a very good time to rush to level 9, play the teeny tiny monster that's in your hand, and make a play for 10. And that's the game. Time your shot for level 10 perfectly, play your cards and politics well, and of course, don't play a freaking elf, and you got a real shot at victory. Don't forget to equip that like button for a +3. I post new videos every single week to teach you how to play and win more games. And if you have a strategy for Munchkin you think could rival mine, first, you're wrong, but make sure to leave it in the comments down below and we'll compare. Until next time, best of luck, you little Munchkins, and always play to win. Bye.